Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty intriguing things to go and talk about when it comes to just the restocks as a whole. Now, as you guys kind of know, as of recently, the Xbox Series X has been very heavily in stock. But, of course, the PlayStation 5, although we've been seeing a few little restocks, has definitely been a little bit more on the low-key side. But a lot of people are kind of curious on why the Xbox Series X is seemingly in stock, why people are kind of curious on why the PlayStation 5 isn't in stock, and I kind of want to go a little bit more on the in-depth side for kind of 2 or 3 really big topics, but mainly one really big one that Microsoft themselves actually did to go and solidify and make sure that they actually could go make more consoles. Now, as well, all these factors also might be affecting the PS5 too, so it's kind of like one of those end-all be-all, and, well, thankfully too as well, we are still seeing the consoles as a whole doing very well. So I just want to go talk about this because I feel like it'd be kind of a fun topic to go talk about. So, well, obviously, let's go talk about it. As well, if you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. As well, for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway, Amazon links down below for the PS5 disc, digital console, and controller. Twitter and Twitch stream as well, link down below. And sign up for Weeble. Deposit $100, get a bunch of free stack free money. Same with that Coinbase too as well, all linked down below. And let's go and dive into the actual video itself. So, first and foremost, like I said, a lot of restocks have been still floating around. Now, if you guys were to go check some of the bigger retailers, there's probably little Xbox Series X's, whether they're in bundles or even sometimes just in normal by itself, non-bundled consoles available. And while you guys look at the PlayStation 5, even the bundles, as of now, most websites, unless they're just atrocious bundles that are just not worth it, are mostly sold out. And as well, if you guys also look at third-party prices, which we'll get to in a second, as well, the PlayStation 5 is still slightly higher, while the Xbox Series X is mostly on the normal side. So what kind of led to this? What led to the overall normal impact of the Xbox Series X? And as well, why is it pretty much available? So there's one major big thing I want to go first and foremost to talk about. That's going to be in regards of the overall demand. Now, not to kind of make this kind of back and forth, as you guys know, because as of right now, I think the console's around 13 million total sales, which is phenomenal, especially for how long it's been out, and also in the midst of a pandemic, and also semiconductor issues and all of that. But the one big struggle for that one is just that the demand is seemingly just a little bit on the lesser side, mainly because when it comes to third-party sellers, especially scalpers and botters, as of right now, still, botters and third-party sellers are still scalping consoles, especially for the PlayStation 5. They're trying their best to get as many consoles as they can. They want to go get as much money as they can, and they're trying to go prolong this basically pandemic issue and shortage supply issue for as long as they possibly can. And now when it comes to the Xbox, funny enough, the third party is actually falling off the cliff, which I would actually say at the end of the day is not necessarily a bad thing on Xbox, just a good thing overall in terms of stock. Now, when it comes to that stuff too, it's kind of a nice thing to note because with that means that basically normal retailers get the brunt of all the purchases. So think the Walmarts, think the Amazons that are all pretty much just normal. And as well with that one, that also means that there's less botters and scalpers, which also means that stock is not instantaneously swooped on up. And that also means that people, normal folks, whether it's bundles or not, have a chance to get their console. And that kind of also tones down the overall demand for it because if you can go and basically buy it at any time, some people might be second guessing their purchases. I know some people would probably do that with the PS5 too as well. And on top of that too, it just makes it easier to go get. And as well with no third-party sellers, it also tones down probably hundreds of thousands of consoles that may be getting moved and bought up by scalpers as well. And that also usually kind of lets the stock kind of equate a little bit more. But as well on top of that too, the double whammy price point. With the Xbox Series S using different types of internal chips, it does make the console easier to produce. Think the Switch OLED. So while the PlayStation 5 disc and digital are actually using the same chipset as the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S is actually utilizing a completely different chipset, which is just overall non-competitive in comparison to those higher end consoles. So that alone makes it pretty easy, and that was why it was probably the first console for this gen pretty readily available, whether it's from Amazon or Walmart's or Walk-ins. So that's another big thing too, is that the secondary factor, because that is combined. If you guys ever look at other statistics, it's always Xbox X and S, not just Xbox X by itself. And that is kind of also a big number too as well, because it kind of does have a really nice cheaper option in the comparison side. But as well, I think another really big thing too is the fact that Microsoft themselves, is probably one of the biggest things, made sure that they had enough extra stock. We've had other official statements over here from even really big insiders from Xbox itself, such as Nick Baker as well, that basically had comments stating before that they want to go and prioritize chip production. They want to go through this as of literally as of April last year. And they basically had a chance from Microsoft and a lot of the really big figureheads to go and make sure that they wanted to have stock. They want to make sure from 3 months from now, they want to be churning and making consoles. So while the overall end, they did make less consoles so far from the PlayStation 5, it does kind of seem like their output has pretty been consistent. As we can probably actually go and see, because we actually made a video on this yesterday, discussing the overall numbers, where throughout this past month, there was around 100,000 extra in terms of Xbox Series X's too as well, so it seems like the stability and consistency is still a huge factor. And mainly because that one is because Microsoft themselves paid for chip priority. Now, the PlayStation 5, I think, is slightly more sought after based on my channel, based on numbers, based on stock, based on how fast the restocks go, based on third-party prices, based on the overall sales, the game options, etc., etc. That, at this point, is just like a statistical proof. But the one big thing is that Microsoft got that money. And then what they were using that money for is making sure they can go and make as many basically chips and chip productions and locking in that extra money. And it kind of seemed like PlayStation, although they were trying their best to do that too as well, may have fallen somewhat short. So with that, that means that we'll have a lot more normal stocks when it comes to the Xbox Series X's and S's available on shelves because they'll probably have a more consistent supply. Think about how the Switch OLED has almost never had any issues, although that is, as I mentioned, on a slightly different chipset. It also does go and utilize that Nintendo connection, where they probably are making sure no matter what, they're able to keep on producing and making as many Switches as they possibly can. But basically, Microsoft was paying for chip priority too as well, and that's why we keep on seeing all these major restocks. And I think that's probably one of the biggest points, because I mean, in overall demand and scalpers, I think those are really big effects on the PlayStation 5. If we never, not a single time, had a PlayStation 5 scalper botting issue, I'm sure a lot more normal people would have consoles, but at the end of the day, we still would have had like 5 more PlayStations being made overall. But the one intriguing thing too, once again, is the fact that they also pushed walk-ins earlier. This is actually kind of a really big factor too as well, because the Xbox Series X itself was in stores, especially say for Target, like 6 months ago. Now, that may have also been due to demand or overall production, we're not sure, maybe even internal contracts, but places like Walmart, we're testing the waters with having Xbox Series X's available and in stock on shelves. Target was the biggest factor, I would say, because the past, like I said, 6 months have had consoles in stock pretty regularly. And the point where you guys can probably even go check your stock right now and go and just look online, look at the Target app, and there's probably at least some spot around you that has Xbox Series X's in store in person, which I always think is kind of a really big thing too as well. And on top of that, even Microsoft even prioritized different cloud servers with things like the Xbox Series X Blades too as well, which also kind of just utilizes in how much they want to go and push the brand and also push the actual production. And on top of that, it's even also had individual Halo Infinite consoles too on top of that too. So it does kind of seem like they are investing into other different consoles. It seems like they're investing into production. It seems like they're investing into actual overall usability of it. And at the end of the day, it makes sense because the more people on Game Pass means the more money you're going to be making every single month. And as well, it's just very intriguing too as well, because also with bundles and normal consoles, it does seem like it's readily available. Now, the shortage is not 100% done as of yet. Say for Amazon, it did end up actually eventually selling out, and as well other big retailers too at some point do lead towards the sold out. Although it's at more the point where it's sold out within 1 to 2 days rather than within the first hour, which the PlayStation 5 is at right now. But on top of that, too, the Xbox Series X and S consoles are actually, as of currently right now, the fastest selling systems Microsoft has ever produced. But as well, it's also been outselling even the Switch in certain regions and certain month-to-month scales. Now, as well, sometimes we'll have like kind of lulls when it comes to restock. So maybe even next month or 2 months from now, the Xbox Series X might be a little teensy tiny smaller and a little teensy tiny not as in demand, or just maybe not produce as much, and maybe the PlayStation 5 might go zoom on up over it. But these past like 3 or 4 months, the Xbox has been doing phenomenal. And I think a lot of people out there kind of enjoy the idea that they could basically walk into a store, walk into Amazon, and get their stock ASAP. So basically, I think kind of the big trifecta on this one is the fact that Microsoft themselves made sure that they had the overall chip production. I think that was the biggest thing. And as well as I mentioned too, they try to put in stores. And I think that's also play a part too, because you can't go and buy consoles, and it's kind of hard to go scalp consoles too as well, because many big retailers have like their own individual anti-scalping measures, and that also kind of tones down the third-party sellers. And as well, also the scalpers and botters aren't as intrigued onto as well, just from general overall demand. And with all that put together, goes to show that, well, they'd rather go put their effort on the PlayStation itself. So all of this put together kind of shows that the Xbox Series X is probably going to be the first console to be up on shelves, and as well it's probably going to keep on doing pretty good just on their priority chipset. And on top of that, too, we'll have to kind of see on how the numbers keep on going, because while it might be nice to be available on the shelves, if people aren't buying at the same rate as the PlayStation 5 is, we have to kind of see who's going to actually win this console generation. Right now, still the numbers are more favoring towards the PlayStation 5 by over 5 million, so we'll have to kind of maybe go and see, but it does seem like throughout the next few weeks, few months, the Xbox Series X shortage should be mostly done, and ideally, a lot of you guys, if you guys are still trying to buy one, can get one ASAP. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. If you guys want to chime in down below, feel free to, and as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch room as well, link down below. Sign up for Weeble, deposit $100, get a bunch of free stock and free money. Same with that Coinbase too as well, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. Give your thoughts and comments down below. We'll see you guys all later on throughout today for much more videos. Love you guys.